Listen up, Rangers, welcome to Geek Chess. My name's Steve, and today we have a special video, and this one's not really going to be what I would say a tutorial video. I'm just kind of showing you guys what I'm going to be attempting to do for G-Fest, which is make my own Douglas Gordon figure. So, what we have here is an amalgamation of a few action figures that I'm going to be trying to do this with, which, where the coat came from is an old Sting action figure. Which I'm actually going to take off now because most of the stuff I'm going to have to Sculpey with it off real quick. And then work on the rest of this. But it's just a leather coat that I had laying around for some other my old WCW figures. This is a Duke Nukem body. An old Duke Nukem body that had some scuffs and stuff, and I was missing the gun and everything for it. So I was like, you know what? This could possibly work. And at least I hoped it worked because I kind of destroyed the head getting it off of this thing. Because I'm actually reusing the joint for Duke Nukem. I actually have to add some Sculpey on the inside just so his head lifts up a little bit so it looks more appropriate. And then where I got the head from was actually a UFC Don Frye figure. So on a high note, if I ever want to put it back on, I can. If I want to keep it. But look how huge this is compared next to him. Right? Like, at least, like, thank God this doesn't look horribly off. It's a little big, but not super big. So, with the coat and everything, it kind of helps a little bit. So, anyways, what I'm going to be doing with this is hopefully making this look like Douglas Gordon from Final Wars. This is probably going to take me a few days to do because I actually want to try to make the weapon too, the sword and his little tooth necklace. And then I'm going to repaint this guy pretty much black, fill in gaps, and add some finer detailing because, as you can see, it doesn't quite match the head. So I might even repaint the body a little bit too, if I get enough time, because as of right now, like, this and the finger is the only thing that really show. So, it's not going to kill me. The only thing that's really going to kill me is having the Duke Nukem signatures on the gloves. But anyways, so what I'm doing is, I already started because I was just testing it to see how it looked with the coat on, is removing the straps. The strap being back here isn't really a big deal because we're not going to see it under the coat. I'm not going to have them without the coat on. So these, I can just kind of snip off if I want to. They don't really matter. And then once I make the shirt black, the straps down here are going to kind of hide anyways for the most part. But now, I'm pretty sure I got to remove these. And then we're going to have to fill this in to make it look like solid pants. Because for the most part, he didn't really have any extra details on him. Once you had some of the stuff going. I kind of want to keep the belt buckle just for giggles, but what I'm going to end up doing is filling all this in, and then I'll just paint a belt onto it when I'm done with this. But, real quick, I'm going to go do that. I'll show you guys the finished product here. I guess I could probably remove these two. They don't really matter. I don't think I'm going to fill this in. You know what? I'll keep the back ones on. Might as well. It don't really matter. So, again, I'm going to go fill these parts in, and I'll show you guys the finished product. Alright, so filled in the gaps. Next we'll be adding a base coat over top of this just to make sure that everything's going to line up correctly. Anyways, see if I got to add any more stuff over top of the holes. Make sure it all lines up appropriately. Alright, and we're back with a very black Duke Nukem. All black all the time. Didn't really care about the back too much. This part you don't really have to worry about because for the most part you're not going to see anyways because the coats are going to be covering it. Also, you can see I got some black on my nails still. But for the most part, pretty happy with the way it turned out. I'm going to have to clean it up a little bit here and there. It's kind of just mainly smoothing it out a little bit before I spray it with some lacquer. But other than that, not too bad. Overall, not the cleanest job, but then again, it wasn't the cleanest to begin with because you can see here with the arms and stuff that the paint job was already kind of to begin with, and I tried cleaning it, primering it a little bit, but still came out a little bit rough with the mold. But for the most part, still looks really nice, plus with the coat covering it. Like, the paint's turned out really great. It's mainly like here-ish. I'm not quite as happy with it. Mainly where I had to put the clay in. But with the coat is going to be mainly distracting you away from that anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. Next thing is I got to repaint this section here to match our Don Frye head. Also, things I've had to do is I've added some, show you guys, some Tamiya putty over top of the Duke Nukem emblems. And then I gotta sand this down, so hopefully it fills in the gap where the emblems show up, so then this will just be a glove. And then I'll be repainting these the same color as the body. Because the nice thing about him is, for what he wore in the movie, it was literally just brown coat, black and black with black belt. So I don't really need to do anything more to this. I might, but for the most part, it's pretty good the way it is. I'm probably just gonna, like I said, go over this with a dry brush just to make sure I get all the dust off this thing before I lacquer it. But other than that, still pretty happy with the way it turned out. I just gotta touch up like one spot of black here and mainly like right around here, but outside of that, pretty good. So now again, I gotta cover up and change the coloring slightly on this. Wherever my Don Frye head went, I think it's upstairs. Darn it. Anyways, I gotta make this match the color of the body for Don Frye. So essentially, it's gotta look more like this. Not too far off. It's mostly the same, but I just gotta make it kind of even-ish. But for this, I'm not gonna spray it because I don't really feel like getting my airbrush out for this. So I'm just gonna paint over top of this, and we'll come back once I get that all situated. Same with, I also went and got a sword. It's just a basic katana. I'll show you guys how it looked to begin with, and then I'll show you guys what I did afterwards. But essentially all I did was I just cut the hilt off the sword and then sanded it down. But I'll just get into it when we get to the sword. One other thing I had to do with the hands. Initially this was a gun hand. So the trigger finger was out, and this was meant to hold onto his pistol. Well, what I did was I took a heat gun, heated this up really quick, and then I just formed it into the shape I needed and then put it in cold water real quick so that it would retain its shape. But now I can hold on to the sword perfectly fine because the way you set up, this hand could hold the sword, this one couldn't. But now his right hand can actually hold the sword, which is what I really needed. So anyways, I'll be back in just a little bit to show you guys the finished product once I get all this random stuff painted in. Alright, so I'm back. The hands are currently off because we're reshaping them and, again, adding the stuff to the hands so that the Duke Nukem symbols will go away. So, I just want to show you guys a little progress on how the coat looks, which I left most of the undersection black. It's pretty much all the leather is the sectioning that I turned brown. Which, this is actually really easy to do. All you do is you just take some brown paint, which, to be honest, half this figure, I'm just using this 50-cent paint that you can find at Walmart. But it's acrylic paint, works really well. And what you do is you just take some on a cloth, and you just start rubbing it into the coat. And it's pretty much, you just kind of apply it as thick as you want. And you just keep kind of rubbing it until you get the little streak marks out of it. Which, the nice thing too about this stuff is it dries pretty fast. So, after drying this with like a hairdryer or a heat gun, like you can pretty much play around with this pretty quick afterwards. But you'll see, it kind of has this nice little weathered antique look to it. So it definitely looks older. I also, you can see around the top section here, I cleaned up the neck. So there's no more black on the neck here. You'll see on the back here too. And I also touched up all the black around the top section, which again, not using any fancy black paints or anything, just basic black acrylic paint. Touched up around here really nice, and then also just kind of filled in the lines around the sectioning here. Pretty much the hardest part was kind of trying to match up the coloring to this, because for his head, you'll see here, lost it. We got a Don Frye body right here. You'll see here, I tried to match it up to the skin as much as possible, and I think I got pretty close, minus the glossiness. So, after mixing it up, which mostly what I was using is mixing up some browns, or specifically burnt ember, some light mocha, and orange, in order to get the coloring that I needed to here. And then I also just added, or at least attempted, I don't think it turned out that bad, is giving him some chest hair. Which all this was I just took a toothpick, dipped a little bit into some black paint, and just kind of just started flaking it onto there. And overall kind of gives a nice look to it. Just don't look at it very closely, you'll be fine. So, then after that, I just sprayed it with some clear lacquer, just so that when you're rubbing up on it, it's not gonna, the paint isn't gonna flake off. Didn't do anything to the coat because I wanted it to look antique-y, so the way it turned out with the paint just works out really well. So next will be the progress on the hands after I get everything done, so you guys can kind of see an after of that. And then finally touching up the head. Alright, so I might have skipped a couple steps, but here is the finished Douglas Gordon product. So what we have is his sword, which I actually took from a Gwenpool figure that I bought and decided to give the figure to somebody. As you can see, all I really did was I trimmed the hilt off of the sword, sanded it down a little bit, and same with the little markings on the sides here. Just sanded it down a little bit and then put some little grays to try to sort of replicate the sword in the film. It's not 100%. I probably should actually shave a little bit extra off the sword here just to make it a little more accurate. But it looks pretty good to me overall right now. I had to reshape his hand a little bit just so it could fit a little better in there. I kind of have to put it in crooked. This hand actually holds the sword really well. So with it being standing on my shelf, I'm probably just going to keep it in the hand I opened a little bit more. Mainly what I want to try to do is have this hand open so that he could have it like getting ready to smack some, because he doesn't hit ladies with his fist closed anyways. So I was trying to open it up, but one thing I noticed is when rewatching the film a little bit so I could try to get it a little more accurate, he wears an entire glove and it's not a fingerless glove. So what I had to do is I just painted the entire hand black. I put some of that putty over top of the hand like I showed you guys, and sanded it down so we get rid of the Duke Nukem emblem. But it would have been way too much work to do that for each of these fingers too, to try to cover up the nails. So just sprayed it black. Overall, I think it turned out pretty nicely though, in the end. Because for more or less, you have to be really looking to notice the nails anyways. Because especially with this clenched fist over here, you can barely tell anyways. The necklace on the front here is just made out of Super Sculpty. The shape didn't mold it, put a little rod for the necklace portion. I had a different design, but it wasn't quite movie accurate, so decided to redo it to get it a little bit more of that authentic touch. It still technically needs to have like that little metal plate on top, but that's just way too much of a butt to try to sculpt on this little tiny thing without a stand, so I just went with this. And for the top part of this is just some string. You can buy, generally like the jewelry section is just string wrapped in more string, so when you cut it, it's a little bit more of a butt to mess around with, because you'll even notice at the top of his neck, it's kind of fraying just a little bit. For the most part, the weight from the necklace kind of keeps it in check. And here you can see the finished Don Frye head. Just added a little bit of added paint for the eyebrows to make them a little bit more bushy. The ones that came in seemed a little too small in my opinion, so add a little bit of extra black there. Also use some black paint on the sides to give him a little bit of that extra shadow on the sides, and just make it look like he has like a little bit of stubble here and there. Not the cleanest shave. Which is kind of what it looked like to me in the movie anyways. Shared this on Facebook before I finished this video, and a lot of people were saying that he looks like Freddie Mercury, which he kind of does. So yeah, so this is the finished, completed Douglas Gordon. I will be getting this guy autographed at G-Fest. So if you guys see me there and you guys want to check out the figure, by all means, let me know. I'm probably just going to have him sign the coat here on the back. And then this guy will mainly just stay in a case for probably the rest of his life. Maybe actually pose him with wherever it went. Mainly give me more of a reason to have this guy in my collection. The Exilian alien. So I could have them posing together. I did do one picture. I'll show you guys. I'll get it off my phone. But I did a picture And I had the alien kind of gripping right there. So yeah, it was mainly to kind of keep him in, but it didn't look as inappropriate to me until I actually published the photo. Also, with the head, it doesn't generally stay on very well if you don't do anything to the inside of the ball joint. I actually put a little bit of Sculpey in there. I didn't heat it up though, so it's literally just uncured Sculpey inside of his head because I didn't want to damage the head, because this is definitely more of a softer plastic than what we have here. So this, if I try to heat up the sculpting inside of the head, I'm just going to damage the head doing it. So for the most part, it's doing its job. So I'm not too concerned about it. Then I don't really plan on posing this guy much anyways, outside of maybe doing some photos. And if you guys maybe want to see like a full-fledged, like me doing an actual review of this guy, let me know in the comment section, and I'll probably do something over on Super with this guy. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.